Morgan Housel, The Art of Spending Money. Simple choices for a richer life. Money is complicated. The first part of the equation's hard enough, how to make enough of it. The second part's even trickier, how to use it. Human psychology has us chasing status symbols that fade, saving out of fear rather than freedom, and confusing wealth with fulfillment. The result? Money, which should give us options and ease, instead becomes a source of anxiety and endless comparison. Think about how quickly your pride in a new purchase wears off. The fancy car becomes just the thing that gets you to work. The dream kitchen turns into the place where you microwave leftovers. Even long-awaited holidays can blur together once they stop feeling rare. We get used to comfort so fast that we forget how to enjoy it. Meanwhile, we scroll through other people's highlight reels and feel quietly behind. The pursuit of more money, more things, more status crowds out the simple satisfaction of enough. Few people are more qualified to discuss the psychology of money than behavioural finance expert Morgan Housel. As this blink will reveal, spending well isn't about rules, budgets or hacks. It's about understanding yourself. In short, it's an art, not a science. The upshot? Spending is intensely personal. No one can tell you the right way to use your money. Happiness-maximising financial decisions are downstream from figuring out what you truly value. Once you do that, you can start building a life that feels rich, even if it's simple. Money is a tool, not a scoreboard. We're often taught to think that financial success means earning more, saving more, or buying more. But the truth is simpler and harder at the same time. Money only works when it's used intentionally. Many of us spend years chasing wealth only to find that once we make it, something feels off. That's because getting what we want, money, often distracts us from what we actually need: health, love, connection, and meaning. Without those, even a fat bank account can feel empty. The real challenge then isn't in making money, but in learning how to make it serve a happy and fulfilled life. Money can absolutely buy happiness, if it's spent with awareness. Think of the young guy who buys a car he can't afford to impress his friends, or the lifelong saver who can't enjoy retirement because saving has become part of their identity. These aren't financial problems. They're psychological ones. They reveal how tangled our emotions, fears, and social comparisons are when it comes to money. In school, finance is taught like physics: numbers, formulas, and tidy logic. But in real life, it's closer to art. Everyone's version of enough looks different, shaped by background, personality, and what they value most. The low-wage worker who feels grateful for what he has might feel richer than the entrepreneur who keeps chasing the next win. The difference isn't income, it's perspective. Understanding this gap between money and happiness means letting go of the idea that more is always better. Society, advertising, and even evolution push us toward comparison. Bigger houses, flashier cars, shinier toys. But using money to prove your worth to others is like running on a treadmill that never stops. You'll stay exhausted and still feel behind. True wealth is being able to say, "I have enough," and actually mean it. Psychologist Carl Jung once listed what makes people happy: good health, meaningful relationships, appreciation for beauty, fulfilling work, and a worldview that helps you handle life's ups and downs. Money can support some of these, but it can't replace them. You can buy comfort, not connection; security, not purpose. So the art of spending isn't about rules, it's about self-awareness. It's knowing what truly matters to you and spending in ways that support that. Maybe it's travel, maybe it's time with family, maybe it's work that feels meaningful. There's no universal formula. But if you use money to create freedom, not status, and if you define success by your own standards instead of someone else's, you'll likely find what so many people miss. Not just wealth, but peace. Money feels right when it reflects who you truly are. There's a quiet pressure to live life the right way. To buy a certain kind of house, retire at a certain age, spend or save savvily. The problem is, none of this takes into account who you are, what makes you tick, what excites you, what you value most. Money only works when it matches your personality, your priorities, and your idea of a good life. The trick is to stop looking for the one-size-fits-all rulebook and start figuring out what feels right for you. Think of it like tasting food. If someone loves Italian and you prefer Mexican, no one's wrong. It's just preference. Yet, when it comes to money, that same flexibility disappears. A friend buys a new car, and suddenly you wonder if you should too. Someone tells you renting is throwing money away, so you buy a house you don't really want. It's easy to start living by other people's values without noticing. Everyone has a different background, different fears, and different goals. Some people feel safe with a big savings cushion. Others find joy in spending on travel or experiences. Neither approach is morally superior. It just depends on what gives you peace of mind. Trying to live someone else's version of savvy can leave you anxious and disconnected from what truly matters to you. Judging how others spend their money is another trap. It's human nature to assume our way makes the most sense. If someone spends more, they're wasteful. If they spend less, they're stingy. But behind every financial choice is a story, one that makes sense when you know the person's circumstances. Maybe the flashy spender grew up poor and now craves signs of success. Maybe the minimalist saver once watched a parent go bankrupt. When you realise that, judgment turns into empathy. Money decisions reflect identity, upbringing, and dreams. Criticising others can actually block your own growth because it gives you false certainty. Real wisdom comes from curiosity, asking why you spend the way you do and whether it still fits the life you want now. In the end, the best financial philosophy is one rooted in self-awareness and respect, for your own journey and for everyone else's. When your spending choices reflect your true priorities instead of social pressure or fear of judgment, money becomes more than a number. It becomes a mirror of who you really are. And that's where fulfillment begins. Happiness lies between what you expect and what you get. Picture this. It's 1915, and Ernest Shackleton's ship, the Endurance, is locked fast in the Antarctic ice. For months, the crew waits, hoping the thaw will free them. Instead, the ice crushes the ship to splinters. 28 men are stranded in one of the most hostile places on Earth. Temperatures drop to 10 below zero. Their tents are frozen stiff. Their food runs out. They eat seals and seaweed, row open lifeboats through ice-choked waters, and sleep in clothes that never fully dry. For 19 months they fight the cold, hunger and exhaustion, and somehow, miraculously, every one of them survives. When they finally reach a whaling station on South Georgia Island, they're met with warmth, food and kindness. A bath, just a bath, becomes an almost spiritual experience. Hot water, clean sheets, a shave, a full meal, and 12 hours of uninterrupted sleep. Nothing about it was luxurious by normal standards, but after what they'd endured, it was pure bliss. That first night of safety and comfort, a number of the men recorded in their diaries, was the happiest of their lives. What made that moment so powerful wasn't just relief. It was contrast. The gap between months of misery and a single night of comfort created a level of joy most of us will never experience. And that's the lesson hiding inside this survival story. Happiness isn't found in constant pleasure, but in moments that make ordinary things feel extraordinary. We don't need to endure Antarctic hardship to understand this. Think about a long shower after camping, a hot meal after being sick, or slipping into clean sheets after an overnight flight. Those simple moments feel incredible because they stand in contrast to discomfort. When comfort becomes our baseline, it loses its magic. That's the paradox of wealth. The more you have, the less special the comfort it buys you feels. Someone who flies private finds it thrilling precisely because they remember the grind of airport queues and middle seats. Meanwhile, the rest of us barely notice how amazing it is to drive our own private cars. 100 years ago, cars were so rare that people feared they'd cause class resentment, the same way people talk about private jets today. What changed wasn't the car, but our sense of contrast. Happiness lives in the gap between what we expect and what we get. When that gap disappears, joy fades too. Living simply, limiting indulgence and treating luxuries as treats, not entitlements, keeps that contrast alive. The best pleasures are the ones that surprise us, that remind us how far we've come, that make us pause and say, wow. Wise spending is the fruit of experimentation. There's no universal guide to what will make you happy. Some people dream of 5-star hotels and luxury travel, while others find joy in staying home with a good book. One person gets a thrill from fine dining, another from greasy late-night pizza. Some think first-class flights are a scam. Others can't imagine sitting behind row 4. Everyone's relationship with money is different because everyone's joy is wired differently. The trick is to discover your own version of happy spending by experimenting, not by guessing. As we've seen, money becomes meaningful when it reflects what genuinely excites you, not what you're told should excite you. The only way to find that out is through trial and error. Think of it as using a wide funnel and a tight filter. Try lots of things and quickly cut the ones that don't make your life better. You might spend more than usual on travel, or clothes, or gadgets, or good food. Maybe it's a concert, a day trip, or a new hobby. If it doesn't bring real joy or lasting satisfaction, move on without guilt. It's like closing a book that's not holding your attention. Stop early and pick something else. The point isn't to spend more, it's to spend smarter based on experience. Over time, this process of testing and eliminating helps you build a life filled with things and experiences that actually matter to you. It's how you find your thing, that small cluster of indulgences that make you feel alive. For one person, it might be fashion. For another, live music. For someone else, it's collecting rare sneakers. What matters is that your spending feels aligned with who you are, not who you think you should be. This mindset brings freedom. When you know what truly adds value, it becomes easier to cut ruthlessly from the rest. You stop feeling deprived when you skip the stuff you don't care about because you're making space for what you love. Someone might dress expensively but drive a beat-up car. Others might skip restaurants but spend big on family trips. Both are right because they're true to the person living that life. In science, as in art, progress happens through experimentation. Trying many things, rejecting most, keeping the things that work or are beautiful. The same applies to money. You won't stumble upon happiness by following rules or copying others. You'll find it by testing, tweaking, and paying attention to how spending actually feels. The luckier you are, the kinder you should be. Luck hides behind almost every success story. Talent, effort, and persistence matter, but chance, where you were born, who you meet, being in the right place at the right time, can change everything. Once you see that clearly, kindness stops being just a virtue and becomes a strategy. The more the world tilts in your favour, the more you owe it to others and to yourself to stay humble, fair, and generous. Kevin Costner once told a story that captures this perfectly. Early in his career, he had a close friend who was a struggling writer. The man was talented, but hard to work with. Costner tried to help by setting up meetings, but every opportunity ended badly. Eventually, the friend ran out of money and became homeless. Out of pity, Costner let him stay in his guest room. Night after night, the man stayed up writing, pouring his hopes into a new script. Every day he asked Costner, "Will you read what I wrote?" And every day Costner refused. He didn't take him seriously anymore. The friend started reading parts of his story aloud to Costner's 3-year-old daughter, almost as if auditioning for her approval. Still, Costner wouldn't listen. After a while, his wife asked the guest to move out. The friend left and found work washing dishes in a small restaurant in Arizona. Months later, he called Costner again and asked, "Did you ever read my script?" Costner hadn't. Feeling bad, he mailed the man a sleeping bag to help him through hard times. Then came another call, another polite nudge. Finally, half out of guilt, Costner sat down and read the script. Its title? Dances with Wolves. That script went on to become one of Hollywood's great successes, winning 7 Academy Awards including Best Picture, and transforming Costner's career. The man he'd ignored had written the story that made him a legend. It's a reminder that you never know where help, opportunity, or inspiration will come from. The world is full of talent hidden in unexpected places. Being kind to everyone, regardless of status, isn't just moral, it's practical. Benjamin Franklin didn't say that honesty is the best virtue, he said it's the best policy. The same goes for kindness. Treating people well isn't just the right thing to do, it's a smart play. You never know whose goodwill, insight, or forgiveness you might need later. Wealth and success can easily distort your perspective. It's tempting to assume that money equals wisdom or that comfort signals worth, but everyone is fighting their own battles and acting in ways that make sense to them. When you're lucky enough to have comfort, opportunity, and freedom, you're standing on the shoulders of countless others who came before. Gratitude for that inheritance should translate into empathy, not arrogance. In this link to The Art of Spending Money by Morgan Housel, you've learned that money creates happiness only when it's used with purpose. True fulfillment comes from spending in ways that match your values, not other people's expectations. Joy depends on contrast, not endless comfort, so even small luxuries feel richer when they're rare. The path to contentment lies in experimenting widely and keeping what brings joy, while cutting what doesn't. In the end, lasting wealth isn't about status, but humility, gratitude, and kindness towards others. Okay, that's it for this Blink. We hope you enjoyed it. If you can, please take the time to leave us a rating. We always appreciate your feedback. See you soon.